Join host Charisma Eve on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and unapologetic authenticity. In each episode, Charisma dives deep into conversations, exploring what it truly means to embrace oneself fully and live life with genuine charisma. From personal antidotes to interviews, Unapologetically Me is a space where vulnerability meets strength, where listeners are encouraged to celebrate their uniqueness and step into their power without reservation. Tune in for inspiring stories, practical tips, and a dose of unfiltered wisdom as Charisma Eve guides you towards embracing your most authentic self. It's time to own your truth and live unapologetically. And now your host, Charisma Eve.
Hi, welcome everyone to Unapologetically Me. I am Charisma Eve, and thank you for joining me this afternoon, today. I am so glad that you have decided to come and join me. You know, I have had so much fun and learned so much. I want to thank my mentor, Dr. Sharon Porter, for giving me this opportunity to learn all about podcasting. And I've been doing some reading about it, and I'm always open to learning about new things. And this has been a challenge, but it has been a welcome challenge. And once again, I do want to thank her for this opportunity. Today, I want to talk about something that I know all of those queens out there probably are going to have a heightened ear about, because all of us have our fathers. And unfortunately, I lost my father April 25th of 2022. My father was the light of my life for a lot of years in my life. He was a minister, and he was a wonderful person. But I was his baby, and he taught me that way. He raised me up that way for a lot of years, and he treated me like his I don't know. He treated me like a baby doll for a lot of years. He was a minister in the church, and I was the only child for 8 years until my sister came along. My second sister. I am the oldest of 4, and I have 2 sisters living and 1 sister deceased. And I wanted to talk to the ladies this evening, or as I like to refer to the ladies as queens, because we are as such. We are as we allow people to treat us. I refer to my husband as my king, and he refers to me as his queen. But I remember a conversation that my sisters and I had in 1998. And it was a very vivid conversation that I remember in my mind. We were actually going to Atlanta, which at the time my father was still living. And we were heading to Atlanta to visit him. And we were talking about the importance of having him in our lives as we were growing up. My sister Donna and I, I will speak of myself. I had my father in my life until I was 13. And then my parents divorced, and we were living in Georgia. And at that time, my mother moved to North Carolina. And then my youngest sister was born here in North Carolina. And she raised the four of us here. Well, she finished raising me, and she raised my youngest sisters uh, from, I think my sister Donna may have been like 3 or 4, and my other siblings were much younger. However, we didn't have our father in our lives. And we talked about the impact that that made on our lives as women and the choices that we made in men and the poor choices that we made in men. Um, and at that time that we were making those decisions, like I said, this was, well, I may not have said, this was in 1998 that we were making this journey to see my father. And at that time, I had been married maybe 10 years because I got married in 87 and this was in 98. And so we were having this conversation, and it was just the four of us because at that time, my sister that is now deceased, she was still alive and she was actually pregnant. And, it was a really cool trip because it was just the four of us. And we talked about how we had made these really poor choices in men, and how we had made poor choices in having loose sex with men, and how if daddy, him being a minister, had been in our lives, and if he had stayed along with mom, what life would have been like. Um, my sister, that is 8 years my junior, she had gotten pregnant early on, and she felt as though if daddy had been around, she probably wouldn't have gotten pregnant early on. Um, my sister Dee Dee, she was on to her fourth child, and she felt as though she would not have gotten pregnant with her children, or maybe not have gotten pregnant quite as early. And my youngest sister, she felt as though she probably would not have made some of the choices that she had made. And, we all talked about how we had made really poor choices in having sex early. And I'm sure, because the choices that we made, let's talk about the reasons why we made the choices that we made. We felt like, let me start with myself. I want to start with myself because growing up, my dad being a minister in our organization, we moved around a lot. We lived in Philadelphia, we lived in Florida, and we lived in Georgia. And I was overweight. I was dark skinned and I was very smart. Um, so I was always constantly trying to find where I fit in. Like what, I wanted to be accepted. Acceptance was big for me. I wanted to find friends, and that was hard for me. So I wanted to find if I fit in with this group, and I fit in with this group, and I fit in with this group. Well, I didn't fit in with the this group of girls because they were light skinned and they had long hair, and I didn't fit in with this group because I was fat, and I didn't fit in with this group because you know, they said I was trying to be whatever, whatever. So I would go home and I would talk to my mom, and she would try to console me and make me feel better. Um, but that it just never did seem to come together for me. So as I got older, um, what I did was um, I would, you know, whatever like I talked in a previous podcast, I started smoking pot when I was 17, and that medicated the pain that I felt when I didn't get accepted. And when I didn't get accepted, and I would smoke and I would use, you that's a certain group or a certain demographic of people that you get accepted by, right? So you get accepted by these men that smoke, that tell you whatever you want to hear, right? Then they tell you that you're pretty and you're beautiful, and then you end up in the bed with them. And they don't mean none of it. They mean absolutely none of it. And then once you're done with that, you feel bad about yourself because you know that you have done what you've done, and you've got to get up, and then you got to move on, and you feel nasty, you feel degrading or degraded, um, and then you got to move on to the next, you know, stop. So we talked about that. Um, and two of my other sisters, they used. My two younger sisters, they used. My sister next to me, she never used, but my two younger sisters did. So they experienced some of the same things that I did. But you try to find whatever makes you feel better to medicate that feeling of acceptance. And I always wanted to feel acceptance. You know what? I have to even say that even now sometimes I I think I've gotten past it for the most part, but I feel like there are times when I seek to be accepted. But I'm grateful that because of my being saved and my being married, that I don't seek it as much. I do suffer from depression, but once again, because I am saved and because I have a husband that loves me and accepts me, I can look just as raggedy as I want to look, but he accepts me for who I am, inside and out. But when I was growing up, I didn't have that, and so my sisters on that journey that we were going on to see my dad, you know, they were like, "Well, Andrea, you got John, and so you're not experiencing what we're going through. We don't have anybody." So they were, you know, looking for somebody. And that's the crazy thing about the world that we live in right now. There are many women. I have a lot of friends that are single, and they're not alone, but they are lonely because they don't have a significant other in their lives. For whatever reason, they've chosen to be by themselves. And, you know, a man plays an important part in the role. A father, not a man, but a father plays an important part, and the role of a father is an important role in a girl's life growing up. I see um, things that they do now that I don't remember them doing when I was growing up, like, you know, taking their daughters to the dances and opening the doors for their daughters, and um, things like that. Teaching the girls how they should be treated, which is imperative in a young woman's life. I wish that these were things that others had a thought about when I was growing up. Of course, I was born in the 60s, but they could only give us what they had been given. And I think that that's something good that they're doing now. You know, how they're taking the little girls and giving them flowers and teaching them, and how they're teaching them that if men that come into their lives are not treating them like their daddies treated them, then they're not worthy of them. That is so powerful. And my dad had 4 girls. Now, I have to say, one thing, let me say this. A couple of things about my dad that he did teach me, spiritual things in church. He taught me how to sing. He taught me how to pray. He taught me how to read the Bible and the importance of those things in my spiritual walk with the Lord. And when he was transitioning a couple years ago, when we went to go and see him as he was dying, I went to his bedside and I sung to him. I prayed with him and I read the Bible to him. And he couldn't speak, but I looked at his eyes and that gave him peace. And my sisters, Donna and Keisha, were there with me. And they loved on him as well. And my youngest sister, Keisha, he was only in her life for a month when she was first born. Of course, growing up, we would go to Atlanta to see him, and we would go to Atlanta for the summers and stuff like that. But she told him that she had forgiven him for not being there as she grew up, you know, and it was something about his eyes. But when I came on, I was just talking about the importance of a father, the importance. That's so key in a young girl's life, as is the importance of a father or a mother in a boy's life. But the importance of a father in a boy's life, because a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man. A father can't teach a girl how to be a woman. So each role is important in a child's life. I mean, I wasn't blessed to be able to have children because I had endometriosis at a very early age. But it's important. And, you know, it's important that we talk to these young people about having loose sex. That's why it's important to be in your children's lives at these young ages. It's, you know, we know what it is when you start to have your hormones racing and things like that. And that's why I really wish my dad had been there when they were young and when I was young, you know, to impress upon us the importance of not having sex early. You know, don't go out here and have sex early. It might feel like you want to, but don't do it, because it can lead to all kinds of things that will make your lives miserable and will make permanent decisions that you can't make changes to, like babies that you will have that will be around for a lifetime. And so we talked about so many things in that car going to Atlanta that day. But for the most parts, we talked about we wish that we had had our daddy from we wish that our mom and dad had not split up. And with that being said, you wonder, is it a good idea for parents to stay together for the children? Now that I'm on this side of a marriage, I wonder, I don't have children, but I wonder, is it a good thing for parents to stay together for children? Because children are wise. I mean, what are the dynamics of that? They're very wise. So I don't know. It's so many different dynamics to that situation. If the father can do what he can do as far as being in the children's life at an early age and make as much of an impression on those girls to let them know what men are about, good, bad, or indifferent, keep your panties up and go to school and get an education so you can take care of yourself. So if you get married and you marry a man that is not, well, as my mama used to say, I'm just put it out there. Mama used to say, if he's sorry, you can take care of yourself. But if you got a good one, then, you can come together and you can have something to build on it. But most of all, you want to, I wish to this day that I had saved myself for my husband. I really do. I didn't. I lost my virginity when I was 15. I wish I could go back and I could save myself. But if I had it to do all over again, and I've even studied the scriptures and I've learned the importance of why God chose for us to save ourselves for our husbands. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But that would be something that a mom and dad might want to sit down and share with their children. But my sisters and I had a good talk and we understood why we made bad choices. And we didn't want to make it seem like it was our dad's fault because we took I think I would say we took the responsibility for our own mistakes. But if our dad had been there to kind of guide us when we were younger, our mistakes may not have happened quite as soon as they had happened. And we may have made better choices than what we had made. So if you have young women in your lives, and if you're a male, or if you're a woman and you have young ladies that you're raising, take time out to sit them down and talk to them about the importance of keeping themselves. You can have sex later. It's a beautiful thing if you wait and have it with somebody that loves you. Express love with somebody that understands love. Don't run out and have sex and just to be having sex. Wait. And when you get married, it'll be a beautiful experience. Take your time and learn to love. And I'm telling you, there's probably a lot of sisters out there that would say amen to this. There is look up the word hymen, Hyman. That is a word that will interest you because it is a scriptural word that is biblical, and that is why we should wait. If you look it up, that is what men call the cherry. If you wait until the hymen gets broken between you and your husband, you will be glad that I gave you this little tip. But I just wanted to share those things with you tonight. Just that little journey about my sisters and I, and the importance of a man being in his daughter's life, teaching her the importance of how a man should treat his daughter, so she knows what to look for in a husband or in a suitor or in a boyfriend, so she does not pick the wrong thing. Any man can come up to you and say anything, but does he mean it? And when he tells you how he feels about you, whatever he says, make sure he means it. All right, kings and queens, I mean it. And this is Charisma Eve. I'm Unapologetically Me. And I'm going to say, have a good day. Have a good afternoon. Be safe. Love on each other. Life is short. Don't be mean to each other. Be sweet to each other. And until next week, I'll see you then. All right? Take care.
Thank you for joining Unapologetically Me, Charisma Eve. Please like, share, and subscribe, and join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for another exciting episode wherever you listen to your podcast.